Welcome to the VAR Brussels edition, the Volunteering Advocacy Report from the European Volunteer Centre. I'm Gabriela Civico, the Director. Since September, we have been continuing to work on the Vote Volunteer Vision campaign as part of the follow-up to the European parliamentary elections that were held in May. We have been concentrating on trying to ensure the establishment of the Intergroup on volunteering. Intergroups are working groups in the European Parliament that focus on cross-cutting issues. That is to say that they are issues that are relevant across the political spectrum and across different EP work areas. Since volunteering-related matters are dealt with by the Culture and Youth Committee, Employment and Social Affairs Committee and others, it is clearly a cross-cutting issue that deserves an intergroup. MEPs themselves decide which intergroups they would like to establish for each four-year mandate, and the competition to be established between the different interest groups is strong. Civil society organisations are involved in the campaigns for several, such as the European Disability Forum for the Disability Intergroup. CEV has been instrumental in gaining support for the volunteering intergroup. Together with the three co-chairs, Michaela Sodrova, Irena Joveva and Dominic Ruiz, and with the support of a volunteer, Christian, and all the staff in the CEV office, CEV has been collecting signed support from MEPs in order that we can demonstrate the importance of the topic and ensure that our volunteering intergroup will be amongst those put to the MEP vote in December. Prior to the election in May, the Vote Volunteer Vision campaign included a pledge for candidates to support the intergroup if they were elected. Now, together with the support of CEV member organisations and partner organisations here in Brussels, we are following up with those MEPs who signed the pledge and were elected, in addition to others who were elected and are supportive of volunteers and volunteering in Europe. A special thank you goes out to BBE, our member in Germany, and CSV Net, our member in Italy, for securing the support of a large number of MEPs from their countries. On the 6th of November, there was a first meeting for the interested MEPs, and CEV had the opportunity there to suggest some topics to be dealt with by the intergroup, if indeed we are successful in establishing it. Here are some ideas. If you have others, please don't hesitate to contact the CEV secretariat and share them with us so that they can also be proposed to the MEPs members of the intergroup. Another important policy area that we are of course working on is the development of the European Solidarity Corps. CEV participated in the stakeholder meeting that was held in Brussels on the 30th of September, organised by DG EAC. The main focus of the meeting was to assess the implementation of ESC so far and to look to the future success of the programme, and in particular the practicalities of the forthcoming integration of the EU Aid Volunteers programme. We also discussed how to increase the participation of young people with fewer opportunities and how to best extend the outreach of engaged organisations and initiatives beyond the youth sector and into the wider solidarity and volunteering sector as a whole. The continuing challenges for organisations not previously involved in EVS to get the ESC quality label were discussed. I stressed in the meeting the willingness of volunteer centres to engage in this process and their knowledge of and outreach of the sector and their expertise in the field. CEV is a member of the newly established ESC Advisory Group coordinated by the European Solidarity Corps Resource Centre in Vienna, and there will be a first meeting of this new group in January 2020. CEV is interested in both the volunteering and traineeships and job strands of the ESC, and as such has also been participating in various meetings and training events about how the traineeship and job strand of ESC can be of benefit to the work and activities of the volunteering organisations. CEV has of course also successfully hired ESC trainees to support the work of the secretariat, and indeed was the organisation to hire the first 2 ESC trainees ever. CEV is very happy that the expert group on mobility of young volunteers and cross-border solidarity has been re-established, and that we had the first meeting in September. This group will be preparing various supporting resources, policy recommendations and a practical toolkit for the implementation of the aspects of the new European Youth Strategy that focus on mobility of young volunteers. The group is chaired by the European Commission, DG EAC, and is made up of representatives of the EU member states and 3 civil society organisations. CEV is one of them, together with the European Youth Forum and RAI Europe. 6 meetings of the group are foreseen until September 2020. The remit of the expert group is not limited to EU or even national member state organised programmes, and CEV is giving specific input on the phenomenon of voluntourism. We have shared the CEV voluntourism policy statement, research paper and toolkit with members of the group in order to inform the discussions. CEV continues with our efforts to support the development of the new Europass, and in particular contribute to how it will be able to facilitate volunteers to demonstrate their skills, competencies and qualifications that they have acquired whilst volunteering. For this purpose, CEV is, together with the member state representatives and other civil society networks and social partners, a member of the Europass Advisory Group. And we have been contributing to the testing of the new Europass prototype and giving feedback to the responsible unit in DG EMPL. Thank you to all the volunteers and CEV members who have contributed to this process so far. Another work area with DG EMPL is, of course, the work of the EQF Advisory Group. EQF stands for European Qualifications Framework. There we oversee, support and monitor the implementation of the 2012 recommendation on the validation of non-formal and informal learning. CEV will be contributing to the revised guidelines and other elements of work coordinated by DG EMPL and CEDIFOP in the coming months in the context of the reporting from the Member States on the implementation of the recommendation. How is it going in your country? Please let us know. CEV is an active member of Civil Society Europe. I am on the steering committee as Treasurer and I also chair the working group on recognition of civil society. Civil Society Europe is the coordinating body for European civil society networks and gathers 29 networks, many of us based in Brussels but not all. Our main focus is on trying to ensure the full implementation of Article 11 of the Lisbon Treaty that requires European policymakers to engage in dialogue with civil society organisations during policy development and monitoring phases. Since the European Parliament elections and during the process of the installation of the new European Commission, we have been working together with colleagues to try to ensure that responsibility for civil dialogue and for protecting civic space in Europe is clearly allocated at the highest level in each EU institution. In this context, I had 2 meetings with European Parliament Vice Presidents together with the CSC Coordinator to discuss how this might be implemented during this new EP mandate. CEV has been co-signatory to various letters sent to European Commissioners and the EP President and Vice Presidents on this topic. Watch this space for further developments on this and how we will engage with policymakers on the discussions on how to organise the planned Conference on the Future of Europe in order to ensure that citizens and civil society organisations are fully involved. Together with other European organisations as members of SDG Watch Europe, we have been contributing to the recently published Manifesto for a Sustainable Europe for its Citizens, highlighting the important role of volunteers in this process and the need for suitable policies and programmes to support them in their efforts. CEV is also a member of the ESC Liaison Group. The ESC is the only EU institution with a formally established process for dialogue with European civil society networks. We have attended meetings for the civil society members alone and also the full plenary of the liaison group that took place on the 12th of September in Brussels. At that meeting, we included a presentation of the Fundamental Rights Report 2019 and the situation of civil society organisations by Andreas Accardo, Fundamental Rights Agency, followed by a discussion on how to better engage with civil society organisations on fundamental rights and the rule of law. There was also a presentation on the ESC study on societies outside metropolis and the role of civil society organisations in facing populism, commissioned by the ESC Group 3. And in a third discussion on the role of civil society organisations in countering populism in Europe in connection with the draft opinion, Populism and Fundamental Rights, Suburban and Rural Areas. We also discussed the first ideas in preparation for the Civil Society Days 2020. We hope you enjoyed the first VAR Brussels edition, where we shared the policy and advocacy work that we are doing in Brussels from CEV. We look forward to your contributions of your policy and advocacy report from your cities and countries. See you next time.